Welcome back. You're watching Network Africa, coming to you live from Lagos, Nigeria. You can get all our top stories on our website, channelstv.com, and on youtube.com/channelsweb. Please visit m.channelstv.com to view us live on your mobile device, especially for our viewers outside West Africa. You can also download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS, and Windows phones from their respective stores. Now let's continue with other stories on our bulletin. As part of efforts to reduce the excessive outflow of migrants from the Middle East, Africa and other conflict-ridden parts of the world into Europe, EU leaders held a conference in Malta on Wednesday to address the root cause of the issues. They singled out Africa during one of the sessions, where they preferred aid to some African leaders in attendance as one of the many solutions on the table to reduce migration from the Horn of Africa. Better access to Europe was also proposed, with promises to take back those Europe expels. Now, Britain's Home Secretary Theresa May said the European migrant crisis must be tackled by making it possible to return migrants to Africa from Europe, and also dealing with the criminal gangs that helped them make their journey in the first place.
We've had very constructive discussions here between African countries and the European Union, but what we're doing in Europe, what the UK is doing, obviously, as well as ensuring that we break that link, we smash the gangs, we want to work with African countries, which are the countries of origin for people, to ensure that people don't feel the need to make this journey to Europe. So in the UK, for example, we're putting 200 million extra aid into Africa to help to ensure that we provide the circumstances there that ensure that people don't make this journey.
Well, the crisis in Central African Republic is still raging. In a recent outburst, a UN peacekeeper and 7 civilians were killed during a fight that broke out in a refugee camp in the capital. CAR has been embroiled in fighting since September, with tit-for-tat militia attacks killing at least 90 in the capital. The clashes of delayed elections and cast doubt on a planned visit by Pope Francis this month. UN peacekeepers who have a nearby base exchanged gunfire with the rebels. One peacekeeper went missing and was later found dead. Central African Republic descended into turmoil in March 2013 when the Seleka rebels seized power in a coup d'etat in the majority Christian country. They later handed power to a transitional government which was meant to steer the country to elections. Concerns over Burundi's instability is growing, and now key Western powers and the United Nations are discussing the possible deployment of international peacekeepers to the country if the violence spirals into a full-scale ethnic conflict. At least 240 people have been killed and tens of thousands have fled to neighboring states during months of violence that began when Pierre Nkurunziza decided in April to run for a third term. Meanwhile, U.S. President Barack Obama, in a phone call with South African President Jacob Zuma, has also expressed deep concern about the situation in Burundi. Mr. Obama asked Mr. Zuma to continue to work with other regional actors to call for calm and press for a dialogue that can bring about a long-term solution to the crisis. Let's take another short break on Network Africa. When we come back, Nigerians in diaspora express mixed feelings over the portfolio of the newly sworn-in ministers. In a moment.
Meet the men and women that make decisions that shape our world. The intrigues and politics that play out when participants come to the negotiating table. Some bring joy and some bring tears, especially when the unforeseen comes into play. And sometimes everything just falls apart and the drum bells of war resound. All these stories and more, some heart-wrenching and some heartwarming, on The World Today. Get the interesting details and incisive analysis on the program Monday to Friday, only on Channels Television.
Now, Nigerians in diaspora have begun reacting to the portfolios of the ministers sworn in Abuja, Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory, yesterday. Our correspondent Betty Dibia was out on the street of Johannesburg to speak to some of them. Some expressed satisfaction, while others questioned the portfolio of some of the ministers.
Any matter which shall be brought under my consideration.
The people that is being appointed as ministers now are the people who are close to the president, who work with him to make sure that they won the election.
The people he appointed, I think they can deliver. All of us knows how Babatunde Fashola does when he was a governor of Lagos State. I think they will deliver very well.
There are no good people, but there are better people that can be used to give these positions, and then you will see the country growing. He should leave those people that have been there for 8 years.
Among the elected, the appointees, the ministers, I know most of them. Like two among them is a former governor, and they actually did something in their various states. And so far, we are expecting much from them. Like someone like Dr. Chris Ngige.
Well, let's take more reactions from Philip Alu. I'm told we're able to establish contact with him now. Let's quickly take more reactions from him about the South Sudan Peace Summit that is about to happen in the next couple of weeks. Thank you so much for being able to join us again on Network Africa, Philip.
Yes, as I said in the beginning, that the violation of the peace agreement that have continued in Upper Nile State and in Unity State won't really be solved by this summit next week. But it will be an assurance to the South Sudanese people that it is possible to move ahead and implement the agreement that was signed in August, and perhaps ending the war once and for all.
So what are the other major features and expectations of this summit?
Well, there is a body called a Joint Monitoring and Evaluation Commission that is now headed by former President of Botswana, Peter Mogai. That body will be sworn in on the 19th during that summit. And it is a very important body in the peace agreement because it will monitor the implementation aspect of the peace agreement chapter by chapter, and also monitor the permanent ceasefire that has been actually violated, and open time both parties are accused of violating. This time now, this body will be able to monitor and hold to account the side that might be accused of violating the permanent ceasefire.
So I also understand that other regional leaders will be attending. Do we know them, and what will be their roles?
As we talk now, we are told that the IGAD countries, that is the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, which was brokering the peace agreement, these countries include Uganda, Ethiopia, Sudan, Kenya, and Djibouti. The head of state of these countries are expected to be here in Juba. They have come in on a number of occasions since the conflict started in December 2013 to address issues that were between the president and the former vice president, who is now the leader of the opposition, Yamachar. So this time around, they are all expected to be here to continue, actually to finish up what the government said will be the last effort by the IGAD to finalize the work that they have been doing, mediating over the last 20 months as the conflict was raging on in South Sudan. So those head of state, the president of Uganda, Prime Minister of Ethiopia, president of Kenya, president of Sudan are expected to be here.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Philip Alu. He joined us from Juba. Thank you so much for speaking to us on Network Africa.
Thank you.
Earlier, we told you that diasporans, Nigerians in diaspora, have been reacting to the portfolio of the newly sworn-in ministers in Nigeria yesterday. I'm now being joined on the program by Chikize Ayawu. He's the Director, Plan International African Union Liaison Office. He joins me from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, to speak more about these reactions. Thank you so much for making our time to speak to us.
Thank you very much.
Well, you have been patiently waiting for this portfolio and who gets what. As a Nigerian in diaspora, what are your thoughts?
Well, the initial reaction is that, in all honesty, that some of the portfolio allocations came as a surprise. But I guess, based on some of the reactions we read in the media coming from the